Welcome to the Black-Liberation.Tech podcast, brought to you by Jordan Nuance, LLC, and hosted by Dr. Renée Jordan. This podcast is a accumulation of Dr. Jordan's dissertation work and her passion for empowering Latinas, Afro-Latinas, Black women, and girls to navigate the academic and professional worlds with confidence and success. Whether you're a mother or a guardian guiding a child through grades 6 through 12, an undergrad or grad student, someone working on a dissertation or thesis, or simply looking to carve out your niche in the career landscape, this podcast is for you. Each episode, Dr. Jordan shares her story, offers invaluable advice, and provides practical coaching to help you thrive in school, work, and beyond. Join our community on patreon.com/Black-Liberation.Tech and become a member for as low as $5 per month. As a member, you'll gain exclusive access to live recordings, impromptu academic and career coaching, and a network of like-minded individuals committed to mutual support and success. You're also welcome to follow Black Liberation Tech on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and LinkedIn. Visit black-liberation.Tech for even more information on Dr. Jordan's adventure in Inglés o Español. Tune in, get inspired, and let's embark on this journey together. Welcome to Black-Liberation.Tech, where your success story begins. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Black-Liberation.Tech podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Renée Jordan, and today we are going to continue on with our digital literacy lesson from last week, the interaction lesson that we started. If you did not see it or did not listen to it, please go back to last week and give it a listen and then come back here, or you can jump in right where we are today. So let's go ahead and get started. So the first thing we're going to do, we're going to go ahead and go to the Black-Liberation.Tech website. Once again, it's both in English and Spanish. We're going to head over to lessons, scroll on down to interactions. We are on D 1.0, a journey of learning and empowerment. From there, we've already read the background story/interview. And so we've done the reflect and write prompts as well. We went over the lesson. We completed step 1 as well as step 2. And with step 3, we're working on my ChatGPT prompts. And so now what we're going to do, we're going to go back to where we left off with ChatGPT, just to take a step back a little bit so that you know where we're going when we move forward. The last prompt that I entered was use the information provided previously as context. Discover. So discover was the interaction that I was looking at last week. And so it says, what emerging AI tools are being used in education research that I could adapt for community-based projects at Jordan Nuance LLC? So what I'm going to do from here, I'm going to borrow this so that while I'm going to the next prompt, ChatGPT knows to think about all of the information that was provided previously. This provides context for the prompt, so you're not getting generic responses, but you're getting responses based on the conversation that you're having, as well as the context that you provided previously. Keep in mind those reflect and write prompts that were a part of steps 1 and 2 are built in to my conversation with ChatGPT. I'm not just going in with a prompt asking it to do something, but I've told ChatGPT about myself so that when we move, my responses are not going to look like yours. So I always want to encourage you to provide ChatGPT with context before you ask it to do something, so that it's based on you as an individual, as opposed to a generic grab and go response from the internet. So we have here, I've pasted, use the information provided previously as context. I'm going to hold down the shift key and hit enter. So we're going to move on to my next prompt, which deals with evaluate. So here's my third prompt out of my series of 5. What are innovative ways to combine quantitative dashboards and qualitative storytelling to evaluate the impact of equity-focused programs? All right, so just for some context, I'm not just interested in numbers. I want to know the stories behind those numbers. And in order to do that, I'm going to ask ChatGPT to help me with that by considering not just quantitative dashboards, but also qualitative storytelling. And let's see what ChatGPT has to say. All right, so this is what we have. Let's give it a read. Here are some innovative ways to blend quantitative dashboards with qualitative storytelling to evaluate the impact of equity-focused programs aligned with the literacies you're cultivating. Evaluate, share, writing. Dashboards with embedded narratives. All right, so here's the idea. Pair numbers with narrative excerpts inside the dashboard itself. Example, alongside matrix like student retention or internship placements, add a rotating testimonial, podcast clip, or mother-daughter dialogue like Ashley and Savannah. Now, just for some background, I'm building out workbooks that deal with Ashley and Savannah. And so, because my ChatGPT has more information about me beyond this conversation, it has pulled that information in. So this is an example of how working with ChatGPT is not only teaching it how to pull information for you within that conversation, but also teaching ChatGPT to consider what else you talk to it about in order to help craft a response that's specific to you as opposed to someone in general. So for those of you who are following me on LinkedIn, or those of you who are part of my Patreon, you have already seen what I'm getting at. So you haven't seen Ashley and Savannah appear yet, but they're coming up. So keep an eye out. So back to what ChatGPT had to say. Impact. This prevents dashboards from becoming cold compliance and help funders and community members see both scale and soul. All right, number two. Story-driven data journeys. Idea, use interactive dashboards where users click through a story that unfolds with data points. Here's the example. A visualization might show rising participation rates, then prompt users to hear a 1-minute audio clip of a student describing why she joined. Impact. The data becomes a narrative arc, reinforcing equity as lived experience rather than abstract percentages. All right, here's number three. Layered equity scorecards. Idea, develop a qual equity scorecard with two sides. On the quantitative side, you have charts on participation, outcomes, access, retention. On the qualitative side, you have stories coded thematically. For example, belonging, barriers overcome, mentorship impact. And then, as far as impact is concerned, the two halves mirror and challenge each other. Numbers prove scale, stories contextualize the meaning. All right, number four, crystallization dashboards. Idea, use crystallization, a qualitative methodology you already use, by representing findings in multiple modes, charts, word clouds, short narratives, even art/poetry produced by participants. Impact, show equity not as a single truth, but as multi-faced, aligning with Afrocentricity and Ubuntu frameworks. Community feedback loops. Idea. Integrate storytelling directly into evaluation cycles. Community members add reflections via video, audio, or text into the same platform that holds dashboards. These stories are tagged to specific metrics. For example, mentorship hours paired with a mentee's note. Impact. Turn evaluation into a reciprocal process where participants help shape the narrative of impact. All right, and here's the last idea from ChatGPT. Multimedia impact reports. Idea. Instead of a static PDF, create a digital impact report with embedded dashboards, podcast snippets, and participant stories. Impact funders, students, and community partners all see themselves reflected in ways that inspire trust and investment. Here's the bottom line. Combining quantitative dashboards with qualitative storytelling transform evaluation from proving to illuminating. It allows equity-focused programs like those you designed through Jordan Nuance LLC to show not just what changed, but why it matters to the people most impacted. And then ChatGPT asks, would you like me to sketch a sample prototype, a one-page mock-up of a hybrid dashboard/report that blends both numbers and stories, something you could adapt for funders, partners, and community audiences. So I will say yes. I'll say thank you. Yes. Would you please? And I'll just copy what ChatGPT had to say. Yes, would you please sketch a sample prototype, a one-page mock-up of a hybrid dashboard report that blends both numbers and stories, something I could adapt for funders, partners, and community audiences. And here's another note. I'm going to ask ChatGPT to export it as a Word document. Please export the one-page mock-up as a Word document that I can download. And so we'll give ChatGPT a moment to analyze and create the document. Here's what ChatGPT had to say. Here's your one-page hybrid dashboard plus storytelling prototype in Word format, ready for you to adapt for funders, partners, and community audiences. Would you like me to also create visual infographic style mockup with charts and call-out boxes to complement this Word version? And I'm going to say yes. And then we're going to move on. Thank you. And the reason I'm saying thank you is to be polite. Hopefully, you tell people please and thank you when they do something for you. Do the same with ChatGPT. Attitude is everything. So here we go. Thank you. Yes. Would you please create a visual infographic style mockup with charts and call-out boxes to complement this Word version? Before you create the visual, think about the best file type you can use to export it as a editable document, and then export it as said document. Okay, so this time I'm going to let ChatGPT decide what type of file to export the example. And I want it to be editable because just because it spits out something does not mean that it ends there. It ends with you reviewing it and refining it and having a chance to add your own touches, insert your own information, make adjustments, whatever the case may be. So here we go. The funny thing is, I was actually going to ask it to export it as a PowerPoint, but I said, you know what? Let's see what ChatGPT came up with. And so here's what ChatGPT had to say. Great question. Thank you for asking me to pause and think this through. Since you want a visual infographic style mockup that's editable, here are the best options. PowerPoint, flexible for charts, graphs, call-out boxes, and images, easy to edit text, colors, and layout, can be printed as a one-pager or used as a presentation slide. Probably the best choice for your needs. Word doc. So you can include charts and call-out boxes, but the layout control is more rigid, better for text-heavy documents than for info-style visuals. Another one, PDF. Professional look, but not easily editable unless using Adobe or design software. Recommendation, I'll create the infographic style mockup in PowerPoint so you can easily edit, rearrange, or repurpose it. I'll include a simple chart-based dashboard, bar chart plus KPIs, right side call-out boxes with participant quotes, storytelling, bottom section, a short evaluation insight summary tying numbers to narratives together. Let me go ahead and build this out for you. Here's your visual infographic style mockup, and editable format. Download the PowerPoint. So I'm going to click here. All right. So this visual uses charts, call out style storytelling, and a summary section so you can easily customize it for funders, partners, or community reports. Would you like me to add a simple bar chart visual for one of the KPIs? For example, students reached, retention rate, so the dashboard feels more visual. I'm going to say thank you. I am actually ready to move on to the next interaction. And so, since I'm ready to move on to the next interaction, I'm going to say, once again, use the information in this conversation as context. And so my next one, well, before I do that, let me copy this response down from before and add this to my collection. And I'll even copy what ChatGPT had to say so that if I want to revisit it at another time, I'll be able to do that. So if you remember last week, I had a file called Save for Later where I was pasting everything that I got from ChatGPT. So I've opened up that file again and I'm saving my information there. Okay, so now I'm ready to move on. So I've done design research, discover, and evaluate. Now I'm down to my last two, and the next one is share. So I'm going to say share. And here's the prompt. All right, so what strategies do women in open education use to amplify their insights across social media and podcast in accessible ways? And I'm not just going to say women, I'm going to say Latinas, Afro Latinas, and Black women. All right, so one more time, my prompt says, what strategies do Latinas, Afro-Latinas, and Black women in open education use to amplify their insights across social media and podcasts in accessible ways? And let's see what ChatGPT has to say. Okay. So ChatGPT had several things to say. So what I will do, I'm first going to save this information on my save for later file. All right, so ChatGPT had to say, perfect, let's move into share with your context in mind. Here are strategies that Latinas, Afro-Latinas, and Black women in open education often use to amplify their insights across social media and podcasts in accessible, community-centered ways. Number one, translating complex ideas into everyday language. Practice using metaphors, storytelling, and real-life examples instead of jargon. For example, a podcast episode that explains AI bias through the lens of beauty filters or music recommendations, why it works. It invites broad audiences, such as students, mothers, grassroots educators, to feel included in the conversation. I'm actually going to highlight this one on my save later file because I think this is going to come in handy very soon. Okay, so number two, layering content strategy. One idea, many formats. Podcast, deep dive conversations. Social media, TikTok/Instagram Reels, 60-second clips of the most relatable urgent points. LinkedIn/Twitter threads, that should be X, but maybe they still call it Twitter threads. I don't know. I left that platform. Condensed professional insights tied to trends in education and tech. Why it works. Audiences can enter at different depths depending on their time and context. Number three, visual and multilingual accessibility. Visual cues, infographics, subtitles, quote cards, and audiograms to make content engaging across platforms. Bilingual reach, publishing in English and Spanish, and sometimes Spanglish to reflect lived realities and expand audiences. I actually like this Spanglish idea. While hablo poquito español, I think if I did Spanglish, I could go a little further than getting stuck at speaking Spanish only because I don't know all of the words in Spanish, just some, just some. So I think I'm going to go ahead and highlight that recommendation, and I'm going to underline sometimes Spanglish. Okay, why it works. Makes open education feel relevant, culturally resonant, and easy to share in community networks. Number four, co-creation, a community storytelling. Practice inviting listeners, students, and peers to submit questions, share experiences, or guest host short segments. Why it works breaks the hierarchy of expert versus audience, making sharing reciprocal and empowering. With that note, I want to encourage you to please share. What are you coming up with? What are different ways that you help share information out with everyone else about those things that are free to us to use, to remix, and to adapt for whatever purposes you have? Let's take a look at number five. Consistent micro sharing approach. Posting small, regular insights, a reflective journal snippet, a favorite quote, or a mini lesson instead of waiting for polished long form outputs. Hey, that's a part of what I'm doing on my social media as well as on Patreon and on LinkedIn. So make sure you are in the Black-Liberation.Tech Patreon so that you can get those mini lessons and take a look at them, see if they apply, see if you want to use them, see if you want to share them with someone else. Perhaps you would want to go over them with your daughter or with your mother or your guardian or your little cousin, niece, whoever may benefit from the information, perhaps even a friend. Why it works: models generosity, keeps the community engaged, and avoids knowledge hoarding. All right. Number six, embedding equity and identity in the frame. Practice naming race, gender, and power dynamics explicitly in content while also highlighting joy, creativity, and resilience. Example: a podcast on being the only one in the room, paired with an Instagram campaign amplifying shared experiences. Why it works: audiences see their realities reflected and validated, fueling belonging and solidarity. All right, let's take a look at number seven. Platforms as learning spaces. Podcasts treated not just as entertainment, but as open classrooms where listeners can pause, reflect, and apply. If you have not done so already, please check out the Black-Liberation.Tech podcast wherever podcasts are found. Social media use as community discussion boards where comments and DMs extend the learning conversation. Why it works: keep open education aligned with the values of accessibility, exchange, and lifelong learning. Takeaway: by combining translation, co creation, multilingualism, layered formats, and equity framing, Latinas, Afro Latinas, and Black women transform open education into a practice of generosity. They ensure that insights don't just sit in reports or elite conferences, but ripple across everyday platforms, helping more women and girls see themselves in tech, education, and knowledge creation. All right. And so here we have another suggestion from ChatGPT. Would you like me to draft a sample content calendar, podcast plus social media, that demonstrates how you could weave these strategies into your next session of Black-Liberation.Tech? That's a great idea. So I'm going to say thank you. That's a great idea. I'll save this note about a, and I'll say sample. I'll save this note about a sample content calendar, podcast plus social media for another time. I'm ready to move on to the next interaction. All right. So I'm going to say use the information in this conversation as context. And from there, we're going to move on to my fifth interaction, which was writing. So I'm going to copy and paste my prompt for writing. So here I have writing. How can I translate complex qualitative findings into engaging, community-facing blog post or podcast episodes. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and copy and paste. Once again, this information that ChatGPT had to share with my save for later file. The thing about what you have as outputs, you don't have to do it all, number one. You don't have to do any of it, but you can use it to brainstorm for your next thing. You can even use it as context for your next prompt, for your next conversation, for your next evaluation in terms of how you're doing. So, evaluate was one of the types of interactions that I wanted to enhance. So, I can go back to that information when I'm preparing my evaluation plan for something and say, hey, I want to make sure that I integrate this, that, the third. What are some prompts? What are some questions? What are some indicators that I can use based on this context of whatever program I'm running in order to help me move along the way in a way that I've already explored with ChatGPT in terms of how I want to move? And so this one is talking about writing. As I stated previously, some of the things I'm highlighting because I'm going to go back to it sooner rather than later. And some things I'm saving for later because when the next opportunity comes or before the next opportunity comes, perhaps while I'm preparing, while I'm planning, I'll be able to pull this information into my planning process. And so I already have some brainstorming ideas in place. Also, as I create the next episode of Black-Liberation.Tech podcast, I will have this information as well to work with. So those things about how to get the word out in accessible ways about the OER and sharing, that's going to help me as I move forward. It'll be in the back of my mind or at the forefront if I pull up my save for later file. And when I plan the next episode, I can simply plug that in terms of implementing the things that I've brainstormed with ChatGPT. So let's go ahead and take a look at this last interaction, which revolves around writing. Let's see what ChatGPT had to say. Excellent. Let's focus on writing with your context in mind. Translating complex qualitative findings into community-facing formats means carrying over rigor without losing heart, clarity, or accessibility. Here are strategies tailored for your work through Black-Liberation.Tech and Jordan Nuance LLC. Here we go. Lead with story, layer in insight. Here's the approach. Start each blog post or episode with a real story, quote, or scene. For example, a Black girl's experience navigating robotics or a mother describing her daughter's growth. Then weave in qualitative theme or pattern. Why it works. Stories anchor abstract findings in human experiences, making them relatable before moving into analysis. Number two, use narrative frames for themes. And here's the explanation. Instead of presenting codes or themes, shape them into narrative frames. Belonging, from outsiders to insiders. How girls claimed space in coding clubs. Mentorship, passing the mic. Intergenerational lessons in tech. Why it works. Readers and listeners absorb findings as journeys rather than bullet points, which deepens emotional connection. All right, number three, transform data into dialogues. Approach. Recast qualitative findings as conversations, much like Ashley and Savannah's exchanges in your modules. So, this is another sneak peek. I have a whole workbook about Ashley and Savannah that I'm releasing bit by bit on LinkedIn as well as Patreon. So, this is another plug for the Black Liberation Tech Patreon. In order to join, you go to patreon.com/Black Liberation Tech and you hit join. And you will have access to the slow release of this Ashley and Savannah workbook. And I hope that you enjoy it. And once we reach the end of a module, I'll have it set so that those who are members will receive the full copy of that first module altogether, as opposed to the slow 3 to 4 page release. I don't want to overwhelm you, but I do want it to be digestible, meaning something that you can do within the different release times. So right now it's looking like once a week. We had our first one last week, and the next one will be this Wednesday. So make sure you join Black-Liberation.Tech on Patreon before Wednesday so you can get a hold of it. And you can also go and grab it later after you join so that you can see it for yourself. It will be there as long as time and space permits. Okay, so moving on. Next example, instead of saying participants emphasized accessibility, create a scripted dialogue. And here's the dialogue example. You're just telling all my business, ChatGPT, but that's okay. We're here. And if you're listening, you're welcome to get the sneak peek. Ashley, it felt like the workshop spoke my language. Savannah, that's the point. Learning should never feel like a closed door. Why it works? Conversational writing mirrors podcast and social media styles, lowering barriers to entry. All right, number 4, embedded multimedia data displays for blogs. Use visuals like word clouds, pull quotes, or mini case study sidebars. For podcasts, add clips of participant voices with permission, or dramatize excerpts with narration. Why it works? Keeps audiences engaged and conveys the findings are not just academic text, but lived experiences. All right, number 5, keep a dual audience lens. Ask yourself, how would I write this for funders? And how would I write this for Ashley and Savannah? Then blend both professional clarity plus cultural resonance. Tactic: use accessible language first, followed by a short deep dive section for those who want more. All right, number 6, highlight action and takeaways. Approach: end each piece with what this means for us or how you can act. Example: if findings show that mentorship increased confidence, close with prompts. Think of one girl in your circle who needs encouragement this week. Send her a note or share a resource. Why it works: ensures findings don't just inform, they inspire movement. So I really like that one, and I'm going to make sure that I highlight it in my save for later file. All right. Okay. So let's look at the takeaways ChatGPT had to share. Your writing becomes a bridge, turning codes into conversations, themes into stories, and findings into calls to action. By doing so, you maintain the rigor of qualitative research while also honoring your mission on open, community facing knowledge that empowers Latinas, Afro Latinas, and Black women in tech and education. And then it gives me another suggestion. Would you like me to draft a sample blog post outline based on one theme like blogging or mentorship to show how this translation might look in practice? And what I'm going to do is say, thank you for all of your help today. I'm going to push pause on our conversation for now. All right. I just wanted to bring this conversation to a close. You're very welcome. I'm glad I could support you today. Pausing sounds like a good plan. We can always pick up right where you left off whenever you're ready. Wishing you rest, clarity, and ease as you move forward. Would you like me to leave you with a short reflective prompt before you pause, or would you prefer to close here? I'm just going to go ahead and close here by going to close. I'll give it a thumbs up though. All right. So we're going to hop back over to the lesson. And so we have completed step number 3. We generated prompts for ChatGPT. We ran those prompts through ChatGPT. And now we'll take a look at step number 4. I'm just going to share it with you. We're not going to actually do this together. I'm going to ask for those of you who are doing the lessons at home to make sure that you do step number 4. What I don't want to do is put people on blast without screening them first or necessarily influencing you to actually have to go to where I'm going. I want you to explore for yourself. I explore for myself. So at this point, we're going to go ahead and give steps 4 and 5 a read. I'm not going to walk through these steps with you like I did steps 1, 2, and 3, but this is just so you'll have an idea of what to expect to when you get here, you'll know what to do. Step number 4, explore women who exemplify excellence in digital literacies. Use LinkedIn, Instagram, or other platforms to find women in your field or those who inspire you by exemplifying excellence in the digital literacies you want to develop. Here's the search that you want to complete. Search for women who are role models in tech, business, education, or other fields of interest. Use social media to share insights about their professional journey and digital skills. And then you also want to search for women who have shared projects or examples of their expertise related to your chosen digital literacies. All right, here are the guiding questions for your search. Search for women in, enter your industry or field, who specialize in, enter your chosen digital literacy. Here's another guiding question. Who are the top women in tech, business, education, using, insert, chosen digital literacy for innovative projects? Next question. Find women on Instagram or LinkedIn who regularly post their work in, insert, chosen digital literacy. What lessons can I learn from them? Here's the last guiding question for this step. Who are the thought leaders in, enter chosen digital literacy, in my field? Make sure you enter your field. How do they use this skill to succeed? All right, so step number 5, conclusion and next steps. Review the insights you've gained from this lesson. Reflect on how identifying, practicing, and improving these digital literacies will shape your future. Create a learning plan for the next few weeks or months to focus on the 5 digital literacies you've chosen to enhance. Start applying your skills to your school projects, work tasks, or personal projects. See how you can integrate your digital literacies to solve real-life challenges and create opportunities for growth. By using these prompts, individuals will reflect deeply on their current digital literacy skills, identify areas for growth, and explore how to apply digital literacies in meaningful and innovative ways. This process not only encourages academic and professional development, but also helps them find inspiration from role models who excel in similar fields. All right, so I'll just review the few things that I highlighted from today. One of them was as it relates to sharing, translating complex ideas into everyday language. I'm going to practice using metaphors, storytelling, and real life examples instead of jargon. If you look at my content, I tend to stay away from jargon. If I go present somewhere at an academic conference, I'll use everyday language and I will throw in some discipline specific language so people who are in the crowd wondering, okay, here's some words for you to think about if that's how you feel. But if it doesn't get across to the everyday person, then that means it's stopping with those who understand. So I think that's very important. And that's one of my takeaways. And then it gave the example AI podcast episodes that explain AI bias through the lens of beauty filters or music recommendations. If you're not the one who creates the actual AI platform, then you have to provide context and information. It's even better if you can pull data so that you can provide context to the generative AI so that the responses that you receive, they're not generic. I can't promise that it won't have bias, but it will be closer to what you want from the generative AI based on who you are as an individual. And so that goes beyond a lot of things that are programmed into generative AI as a result of it reflecting the creators and reflecting those who take up the space in the internet. And so, in order to reframe it, you have to provide the frame, which is your context, which is the information that you have as an individual that matters most to you when having a conversation. Just like your friends have to learn you and learn how to talk to you, hello, you have to train your AI to do the same. Okay, so why it works. It invites broad audiences, students, mothers, grassroots educators to feel included in the conversation. Okay, another piece that I highlighted related to visual and multilingual accessibility, bilingual reach, publishing in English and Spanish and sometimes Spanglish to reflect lived realities and expand audiences. That's something I embraced with Black-Liberation.Tech. So the open educational resource, if you go to Black-Liberation.Tech, the lessons are in both English and Spanish. At the top of the page, you can switch from the English page to the Spanish page. And that is to help those who speak more than just English. I can at least help with Spanish. I don't do all the languages, but feel free to even take the Black-Liberation.Tech and have it translated into your language that you want to listen to. And with that, see how ChatGPT does, see how Gemini does with translating different lessons from Black-Liberation.Tech that go beyond English and Spanish. I want to invite you to do that. And then tell me what happened. What was your experience like? And then work within your generative AI in your language and see how it does. And then let me know how it goes for you. Okay. And the last piece that I highlighted dealt with highlighting action and takeaways. So the approach in each piece with what this means for us or how you can act. Example, if findings show that mentorship increase confidence, close with prompts. Think of one girl in your circle who needs encouragement this week. Send her a note or share a response. Why it works. Ensuring findings don't just inform, they inspire movement. And on that note, once again, I want to encourage you to go to patreon.com/Black-Liberation.Tech and join the Patreon because I'm doing exactly just that. I have a letter going out to my Patreon members that they're welcome to review, and I want to challenge them to actually leave a note that would encourage someone else. So, those who are on my LinkedIn, I will post a note there to hopefully direct people to the Patreon so that they can read that letter if they have not joined already. And so that's what I want to reflect on with you as it related to this lesson. And on that note, I have some reflective questions for you to consider. So, which of the five digital literacies, design, research, discover, evaluate, share, or writing, resonates with your own journey and why? Please feel free to share that in the place wherever comments can go. What digital literacy skill do you want to strengthen this year? And how might it open new opportunities for you? How do you see yourself sharing your knowledge and digital skills in ways that uplift others in your community? Thank you for walking with me through these five digital literacies: design, research, discovery, evaluation, sharing, and writing. Now it's your turn. Which of these speaks most to your journey, and how will you strengthen it this year? Drop your reflections in the comments or share them with your own community. Remember, digital literacies aren't just about skills, they're about liberation, growth, and creating futures together. Until next time, keep learning, keep sharing, and keep building. Thank you for tuning in to the Black-Liberation.Tech podcast, brought to you by Jordan Nuance, LLC, and hosted by Dr. Renée Jordan. We hope today's episode has inspired you and provided valuable insights to help you navigate your academic and professional journey with confidence and success. Remember to like, subscribe, and share, as well as rate and review the podcast to help it become more discoverable. Whether you're guiding a child through grades 6 through 12, tackling undergraduate or graduate studies, working on a dissertation or thesis, or exploring your career options, this podcast is here to support you every step of the way. Join our community on patreon.com/Black-Liberation.Tech and become a member for as low as $5 per month. As a member, you'll enjoy exclusive access to live recordings, impromptu academic and career coaching, and a network of like-minded individuals committed to mutual support and success. Don't forget to follow Black-Liberation.Tech on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and LinkedIn. Visit Black-Liberation.Tech for even more information on Dr. Jordan's adventures, available in both English and Spanish. Stay inspired, stay empowered, and keep moving forward. Until next time, take care. Bye-bye.